To begin reviewing regressions and scatter plots, we're going to look at test 2, number 36. It's on page 16 of the green booklet. The question reads, the data chart to the right represents the local baseball team shoe order. You can see that I have that data chart right here. Part A asks you to write the linear regression equation for the line of best fit for the data in the chart. Now, italicized it says round the numbers to the nearest hundredth. So immediately when you begin a problem like this, it says to the nearest hundredth, that's to the nearest 2 decimal places. So you're going to go to mode, go down to float, go over to 2, and press enter. From here, we now want to enter this data into L1 and L2. So we're going to press Stat, Edit, and you can see I already have the data entered into L1 and L2. Now, when you enter in both columns, make sure that your L1 data matches up with your L2 data. So one should not have more numbers than the other. Please be careful of that. They want you to write an equation for the linear regression of best fit. So we're going to press Stat, go over to Calc. We want a linear regression. Either one is acceptable, but we've been using the AX plus B. So go down to linear regression, press enter. Now my X list and Y list already says L1 and L2, which is where I entered my data. But let's say it says L3 or L4, or your data was entered into L3 and L4. You would have to press second, list, and then enter in whichever one it's supposed to be in. So in my case, it's in L1, so I'm going to leave it as L1. Now in order for it to write the equation for us on the table, back in Y equals, we need to get it into Y1. So you're going to press alpha and go over to F4. This is a shortcut. I want it entered into Y1, and now we're going to calculate. Now as you can see, only A and B are coming up. That's because this calculator was never had the diagnostics turned on. So if this happens to you on the test, you need to make sure you go to the catalog, second catalog. You want to go down to diagnostics on, so D, we can skip down if we use alpha and then go to the D button. Might have to do it twice. We're going to go down to diagnostics on, and we're going to press enter. Brings you back to the home screen. Now press enter again, and it says it's complete. Now when we go back to stat, calc, and the one variable stat, the linear regression, number 4. And again, we're storing it in Y1. We're going to calculate it. Now you can see R squared and R. You can see the correlation coefficient for the linear regression. The closer the correlation coefficient is to +1 or -1, the better the line of fit is for the scatter plot. So in this case, the correlation coefficient is 0.95 rounded to the nearest hundredth, because remember, we're still in fixed 2. Since the correlation coefficient is 0.95, that means that this is most likely a very good line of fit. And you can see that part B is asking you to state the correlation coefficient to the nearest hundredth. So you want to write this down. 9 times out of 10, you're going to need the correlation coefficient. So as soon as you get to this screen, so that you don't have to go back to it, write down R equals 0.95. Now if we go to our Y equals, we can see the line of best fit is 0.31x plus negative 11.02. So that's what you're going to write down for part A. Finally, part C is asking if the correlation is good and why or why not. You can see that the correlation is good because of the correlation coefficient. The closer it is to 1 or -1, the better the line of best fit is, the better the correlation between the scatter plot data and the linear regression. Finally, let's say the question was asking you for the residuals or to look at anything that had to do with the residuals, and you wanted to find the residuals and you wanted to graph everything. We're going to go back to Stat, Edit. We're going to go up to L1 and all the way over past L6. We have that blank space there. We're going to press second, Stat, and go down to Resid, which should be your number 7, and press enter. You can see that for the regression that we just did, now the residuals are coming up, and they're rounded to the nearest hundredth. Now let's say you wanted to graph the scatter plot, the line of regression, and the residuals. We're going to press second, Stat Plot. See how they're both turned off right now? Press enter. Turn it on. Now right now your plot 1 may still be a box and whisker graph. You're changing it back to a scatter plot. Our X list is L1, our Y list is L2, so that's all perfect. So this is going to graph our scatter plot. Now go over to plot 2. Turn it on. We want the L1s to remain the same, but instead of graphing the corresponding Y values, we want to graph the residuals. So second, list, and you're going to enter in resid. Now you can see when we go back to Y equals, it's going to graph our line of regression. Plot 1 is our scatter plot, plot 2 is our residuals. Since it's stat, we're doing zoom 9, zoom stat. And from here you can see what your scatter plot and line of best fit should look like. You can see what the residuals are and that there's no pattern. Since there's no pattern, that means that this was a good line of best fit. If the residuals followed a parabolic shape or an exponential shape, anything other than random would mean that it wasn't a line of good fit.